welcome to Dropping in a Pipeline Audio number 69, and this is One More Take. Just check a couple things that I probably just broke again. There we go. Hey, Tom. Hope you guys are okay over there. Let's make sure this is working. Sorry. Yep. Looks good. Okay. So what do I got today? Hey, first of all, I actually saw with my own two eyes a Podgo box over at Guitar Center in Pearl City, Hawaii. So I don't think it's vaporware. I think they're out there. Oh yeah, I saw Arizona's definitely a hot spot right now. Saw you guys' numbers. Our numbers going up, but they're still tiny. But so I don't think it's vaporware. I'd like to talk to somebody who actually bought a Podgo. I don't think I will be getting one because I don't play any shows, and I can't really afford to get each of the kids their own. But I would like to know what exactly is it missing from the Helix. I know like buttons and stuff, but they said some of the DSP was missing, and so I'm not sure what that's going to be like. Can you run less effects? Is it like more structured where you can put effects and which effects you can put where? And does the harmonizer work? Is it dual path? Most important thing of all, can you send out one signal that doesn't have the speaker simulator so you can send it to your amplifier, and another signal that does so you can send it to the PA? Does it have all that stuff? So I wonder if the manual's online by now. I'll go check it out, and maybe I could answer my own questions. But any of you guys who actually own one of these things, let me know. I'd like to hear about it. Speaking of Guitar Center, I really need a desk for my studio here with some more racks. And I know everybody says just have somebody build one, but I don't know that I can get somebody to build one around here. And looks like it can't do the store-to-store shipping to Hawaii or Alaska like you can with all the other ones. So, I may have to have somebody make a desk over here, which is a bummer. But, if I can get somebody to do it, then I'll end up with the desk that I actually wanted instead of the closest approximation to it. But I think I'd sleep a whole lot easier if I could just order the damn thing and have Guitar Center send it down here, and I'd be okay. So next thing is I want to get a stereo pair of microphones for the students to use that I don't, if they blow it up, I'm not going to die, but, reasonably good. And I want a multi-pattern because, you know me, I love trying those different stereo mic techniques. And so I'm looking at the different ones. What I got it down to. There is the Audio Technica 2015. It looked to me like the... let's just pull these up. Sweetwater. No, not shopping cart. Sorry, this is going to take me a second. So I want to pull up the microphones. Look at some multi-pattern mics. Condenser microphones. I wish I could select multiple prices. Let me see if I can actually do that. So here's Sweetwater. I'm gonna do multi-pattern mics. Now, of course, the 414, right? It's a gold standard. Our 414s are in pain right now. The salt air and the humidity and everything else, it can wreak havoc on them. So maybe I can send the 414s in to be fixed. It's really weird. Like the guy who fixes them, it's really hard to get a hold of them. So I'm gonna click, see if I can select multiple price ranges here. That would be awesome. Oh, I can. Let's see if I can select them all at once. Nope. I'm gonna keep doing this. Sorry. Okay, so I want something, reasonably inexpensive. And mind you, I'm just looking at Sweetwater. Does MXL and all that stuff still exist? Anyway, let's look at these from price low to high. Okay. So there's a Samson Go mic, portable USB condenser microphone. So this has selectable pickup patterns for $40. Wait a second, man. This is not looking so bad. It's a little square podcast looking thing. It's got an on-off switch, it looks like. USB mic. I don't think you can actually plug it into an XLR output. But man, if it really has selectables like cardioid, figure eight, and whatever, I can't really see that it does, but that's very interesting. Anyway, it's $40, whatever. Behringer C3, $78. So, I don't know where the MXLs and all those kind of cheaper mics that usually end up pretty decent anyway. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at them, and I saw that Studio Projects had pulled off their C3, which was probably kind of the one I was most likely going to look at. But anyway, let's look at this. So there's a Behringer C3, named just like the Studio Projects one. Cardioid, Omni, and figure eight. That might actually do $78. You get a pair of these. So, less than $200. That's interesting. It says Behringer, and I want to be afraid of it, but so the Studio Projects B3, large diaphragm, $160, multiple polar patterns. This might work. The thing about this one is, and it's like the Audio Technica, I don't like how far away the top is from the capsule. It's not super bad, but if I want to do MS mics, I want to get pretty close. There's a Behringer B2 that actually costs more than the Studio Projects. That's interesting. It looks like, your Neumann type of mic, sort of. It's got 3 polar patterns. So what do you guys think of the Studio Projects B3? Because that one is definitely affordable. I don't know that I mind it. Avantone, wow. That one's a small diaphragm for $150. It's got a couple different polar patterns. Actually says, omnidirectional, so there's no bidirectional, and which you wouldn't expect on a small diaphragm. So then the lowest, the Audio Technica one, boy, I really wonder about the Studio Projects B3. It might be okay, and it's pretty cheap. The Audio Technica, the 2050, is a multi-pattern mic, and again, its capsule seems extremely far from the top of the mic. It's going to make placing them super close together rather difficult. But it's very low cost, so it's $229. That's about, normally it would just say just go buy a CAD M179, right? But I figure, it's decades later, maybe there's something a little bit better. So you got that. You have the Yeti Pro from Blue, XLR and USB. That looks kind of interesting. It's around the same price. So there's a MicTech MK300 large diaphragm condenser microphone. I remember people trying to say that MicTech was like some really good, expensive stuff. I don't know. Looks kind of the same. It's got the capsule in a really good place. This one actually looks pretty good. Value packed condenser with the signature MicTech song, whatever that is. That's interesting. This is I kind of like the names that we all know, but and right after I say that, one of the ones that I'm really looking at here is the Warm Audio WA47 Junior, and that's like their version of the FET 47 with multiple pickup patterns. I'm really looking at this guy. It really does look like the same as the other cheap Chinese mics, but everybody's talking about how Warm has some pretty good quality control and they're doing good work with their stuff. This one is your typical mic. Got the low pass, high pass filter, a pad, and 3-way polar pattern switch, and it's about $300. The capsule's in a really good place for what I want to use it for. But, you know, the insides better be good because, I mean, this really is the exact same mic body and kind of crappy shock mount that they all come with, the real cheap ones. But, you know, for all I know, it's really good. I'm hoping. So I'm looking at this one. And then the other one that's really in the running for me is the Rode NT2A. And the Rode stuff is always like super high quality to me, real low noise. They do have kind of a spitty sound to me all the time, but you know, I can deal with that. Only thing is another $100, and for some reason the NT2A just looks ugly to me. I mean, not that that really matters that much, but it kind of does. Like, and somebody was telling me about the Aston microphone Spirit, and that is a lot of people are talking about this Aston stuff. I looked at the Lewitt ones. They had one that I thought was going to be the right thing. In fact, to compete with the Warm, where is it? The Warm, I don't know why this isn't showing up, because the Warm WA14, I think it's called, is multi-pattern. Hold on. Warm 14. Yeah, I don't know why this isn't showing up in the Sweetwater thing. Oh, it's $500. Maybe that's why it is. There's like their version of the 414. But see, they put the capsule in a place that I don't really like it. I really do like this Warm Audio Junior, but you know, of course, the other one to talk about is going to be the CAD M179, and thanks Scott Veenstra, he found a couple on eBay. So then when I really looked, they're available. Yeah, it's hard to say, because that one, what do they cost? It's going to be about the same price as that Audio Technica. So I'm really thinking about it, that CAD M179. I mean, they're good mics no matter what. I've used them a lot. I think they're a smaller capsule. I don't know, you know, whatever. Yeah, so at that price, it's between that and the AT2050. I don't know, you know. Let me know what you guys are thinking. And why is this Behringer, this B2, that's really cheap. You know, I'm just the kind of jerk that would buy 20 of these things, put them on everything, and record an album with them. In fact, we just ordered a bunch of Behringer XM8500s so that people could safely have their own mics and not sing into each other's mics and give each other coronavirus and cause the apocalypse and the end of the world. And, you know, so far so good on those things. I do need to order a pile of them and just record a whole drum set with them just to torture people and see how that works out. And, but, you know, I mean, that's cheap, this Behringer B2. And why it's a Studio Projects is even cheaper, you know. Studio Projects makes okay stuff, right? I mean, I don't know. Looks okay. I mean, you know, it's $100 less than that Warm Audio thing. It's only a little bit less than the, well, it'll still be like, you know, it's still going to be significantly cheaper than the M179. So I don't know, but I don't know this thing. And then there's the really cheap Behringer for $78. I bet you that thing's just fine. I bet you I could make that work. Let's put it that way. So I don't know what to get. The other one that I was looking at, and really it's not going to be as good because it's, you're not going to be able to experiment with it as much, is the Studio Projects LSD2, which is two microphones, two capsules stuck together, and you can rotate them like 270 degrees apart. So you'd be able to do a lot of coincident pair microphone techniques with that thing, and that's actually very handy to me. I'd actually like to own one. I'm thinking about it. Maybe I can find one and buy one. But for this purpose, I think they should be separate microphones. So we'll see about that. But man, I wonder if I shouldn't buy one of those things. And yeah, I got my word clock in, got a chance to test it a little bit. So that's working. Yeah, as soon as I get a new desk, I'll try that. But, you know, this is the thing with these microphones, you know, like there's so much, as much as I always talk about how people go crazy over mic preamps and make magical claims that they don't know what they're talking about. when it comes to microphones, man, there are so many claims. Like, but what is a microphone? You know, it's a capsule. The different capsules are going to sound different, and then the different electronics that you use in there are going to sound different. And in reality, you know, unless you're talking about a tube mic, and really a lot of this stuff applies there too. But, you know, electronics just aren't that much money. And, you know, if you make the same circuit and you're using the same capsule, then really what is going to be so different about microphones? You know, maybe the grill is going to mess something up. But, you know, you've seen me do it before with the cheap mics and make things sound okay, which is why I keep looking at this Behringer. But I'm probably going to get something else that has a little bit more trusting of a name. Not that I don't, you know, you look at all the Behringer stuff I'm using, but man, the price makes it really tempting, you know. So I don't know. You guys let me know. The Audio-Technica 2050, or spend the extra money on those warm audio ones. I mean, it's a lot more money. I don't know. I really don't know. Let me know. And of course, you know, like I say, you getting a desk, getting some different audio stuff in, and trying out this Miro app. There's a free version. It lets you draw out like routing and shapes and boxes and stuff, and it's really cool. And I've been making a routing system in case you don't use the X32 anymore. I know I talked about this a couple times in the last few weeks. But man, is it confusing to think of what to do to get out to headphones and to get the mirror of the PA system mics out so I can still record them, but they can still use them for a PA. Does somebody have to be in my room to turn on the mic preamps? Or do I put one of the mic preamps out there and send its ADAT output into here to me? That could be a way to go. So I really, man, I need somebody to come down here and help argue over routing with me. It seems like I could make things work with the two ADAT outputs on these things. You know, ideally I'll have two rooms, my room and then out in the big room where the students can use it. And we'll pretty much have access to the same signals all at the same time. And I want them to be able to do things when I'm not here. So that probably means I got to put the word clock power, or leave everything on all the time, or put the power on out there. And I suppose I could put one of the mic preamps out there and have that go out to the mixer. That might make some sense, but I just don't want little kids touching this stuff and breaking it. Maybe I just got to leave everything on all the time. I don't know. Yeah, that's going to be confusing. And in the next couple weeks, I'll be showing you what I'm coming up with for what I'm actually going to do with this. And we'll see what happens. Oh, so we got Wade Coda going tomorrow to the Compound Music Studio. That's pretty awesome. So I haven't really been following Wade too much after the American Idol thing. But if he's in there making music, that's awesome. Because, you know, you always see these guys on these shows, and then you see them next week, they're trying to sell you MLM products or something, you know. But if he's staying in on the music, that is really cool. That's really awesome, actually. So hopefully that's what's going on. I don't know why my thing's not refreshing here. But yeah, I'm really confused over what to do on the audio. I'm probably gonna have to put an analog mixer back out in the room again, which I didn't really want to do, but it's probably the right answer. So we'll see. Either that, or I might put the Behringer XR18 back out there. Maybe. Okay, I don't know. But this Miro app is really cool. So if you get a chance, go grab it. Miro. It's free under certain conditions, and then you pay $8 a month for your team member if you really want. What did I see? There was some Quora stuff. Sorry, let me get this. Okay. So I have so many questions about this question. So the question is, to people who mix and master vocals, paid commission, Do you care whether the vocals are bad or not? Not quality-wise, but more like skill-wise. Not the best singer. So, ... First of all, when you say you mix and master vocals, are they just sending you a cappella tracks and telling you to EQ them or something? Or is this part of a mix of a song? Or, man, I really don't know. But what this really gets into is that dilemma. Audio engineering is not necessarily a job like any other where you just, there's a set time and you're going to do this and do that and it's agreed on what to do. It's very subjective. So, if it's going to be crap, do you want to put it out there? Because especially if you guys are talking, it sounds like you guys are talking about like Upwork or Air Gigs or whatever. If you're putting out something junk, they're going to, I learned this a long time ago. If the product is junk, they're going to blame you whether it's your fault or not. Like you could have the perfectly recorded, perfectly played stuff, but it's just a crappy song. They're still going to think it's your fault that it's a crappy song. Or you could, have crappy players that you record really well, but it still sounds crappy because they're crappy. And you're going to get blamed for that too. So, there's that whole can of worms. Do you just turn down a project and, not to, and that's not being a snob. Like you might just, or you may not be the right fit for the job, but I do turn down a lot of stuff but around here I turn it down for ergonomics reasons. So for the most part I do, and sometimes other things happen, but this is a whole thing about, how do you, if you're the engineer, like you're recording or whatever, how do you decide on the time? Is it up to the band? Like, how do you handle that? So you could, as the engineer, say, oh, that take was no good, let's do another one. But the band decides that that's all the money that they want to spend. And so you can't get more takes. So you guys all have to work that out. Like, or sometimes they just trust you and then you feel bad because you're putting in a lot more hours than they were planning on spending. You really got to find out how long they're planning on going, and is that realistic? But sometimes you don't know if it's realistic until you actually hear the band play, which is another thing. If you get to hear them ahead of time, like go and see them at a show or whatever, it's going to do you a lot of good for estimating what the project's going to cost. But sometimes they just tell you that we want to do this by the hour. So then what? Do you say, okay, we need one more take? I don't know. It's a really hard one, and we do this a lot. But what I generally like is, when you're working with the big bands, they have a producer, and that producer's telling you what to do. It doesn't matter how many hours they're spending. They'll tell you how long they want to spend. That producer is in charge, and well, hopefully, the producer's really in charge and deciding if that take is good enough. It's all up to them. That's really a producer's job, is to deliver that product. And, they handle that. You don't really have to worry about it. But when it comes to this stuff, man, who's in charge? It's very tricky to decide, how are you handling the session flow? I mean, it's a really, really hard one. I'd like to hear from you guys about how you do this. I know this one's not really about that. This guy's just to say whether or not the vocals are bad or not. Maybe he's talking about turning down a job or whatever, but it sure makes me think about all the times when you're doing things by the hour. And if somebody's not clearly in charge, and especially if that person who's in charge isn't the guy who's in charge of the money, oh boy, man, you might have some. I've had people hold up projects with insane requests while the guy who's actually paying for it is going to complain about how many hours it's taking. It's like, well, get rid of that other guy that's slowing everything down, but maybe they can't. And so that's about it for that. I like some of these answers these people have made. It depends on whether I did the tracking. If I'm doing the tracking, I'm already sure I got the best possible performance. I have no problem doing multiple takes until the group or individual is happy with the result. It's strange because he's got to decide. That's on him, but maybe the band's not letting you decide that. So it's a tricky one. Why do people keep saying that vinyl records are a niche thing if almost every audio store in the U.S. has swapped out a CD section with vinyl records? Have they? That's pretty interesting. I'd like to. Is that true? Like you go to Walmart and they don't have CDs; they got records instead. The funny thing to me is, why would they have either? I can see having records as a gimmick, and I think Guitar Store has them. Guitar Center has records in there, and for the most part, let's be honest, it's mostly a gimmick. A lot of these records people are selling, nobody's ever going to listen to, but they want to own the record. I mean, it's cool owning a record back in the day. You got this big chunk of artwork, and they could fit a lot of stuff inside that record sleeve too, which is another bummer. But honestly, I don't see people. Are they buying CDs still? Like, you tell me people are buying CDs, I'll be surprised. Not that I know how music business works or anything else, but for the most part, I figure everything's just getting pirated and people are watching YouTube. So both records and CDs would be a niche market. Music, actually paying for it is a niche market. How many places can you actually do that? I mean, actually, let me take that back. How many places are they actually doing that? So that's interesting. I'd like to see. I'd like to go to I know Guitar Center. They get the records in there, but maybe I go to Walmart or where do they sell records anymore? Best Buy or something, and see if it's vinyl instead of CDs. That's interesting. It'd be neat if people were really buying a lot of records. Not that I want to encourage anybody to blow all their money just so they can have a record gimmick, but it's still cool. How do I record a digital piano in a laptop without an audio interface? Okay, so here you go. If you're really lucky, you're not talking about recording those sounds in there, but I mean you do have an audio interface, almost guaranteed. Your laptop's probably got an onboard sound system, and that is an interface of sorts. You are, an interface basically has two parts, right? The input and the output. And I guarantee that thing also has inputs. It's probably got a mic input or something. It might be crappy, but it's got an output. That's what you listen to the speakers on. So chances are your keyboard, if it's modern and has USB, it has MIDI over USB. And so you can plug that into your DAW and control a VSTI with it or a virtual instrument with it. Maybe it's an audio units instrument or whatever. You can definitely do that. The problem's going to be after that is latency. The onboard sound card is probably going to have pretty high latency. You may not have ASIO drivers. If you're on Windows, if you're on Mac, you always hear about how superior that stuff is. You should have the generic core audio drivers, and those might be decent. I hear those drivers, even the generic ones, have decently low latency. So that's definitely how you could do that. Plug it in MIDI over USB and listen to your sound card's output. And if you are on Windows, you might be able to use ASIO for all, but there's a chance that your sound card on your laptop has an ASIO driver. So check it out. And most of those USB over MIDI are plug and play, so you don't have to worry about that even on Windows. What is the best sound card for a microphone? Eek. What was the other one? And what is a good preamp for recording vocals at home? These kind of both have the same answer. Well, if you have a USB mic, you already have a preamp on there, so that it's already doing whatever it needs to get to line level, so it can convert to that audio and analog to digital converter and get into the computer. There are problems with using USB microphones, so ideally it's not going to be that, but you might already have one in that form. But the best sound card, or what is a good preamp for recording vocals at home, chances are you're going to need an interface either way. As we've shown on the tests on my page, pipelineaudio.net and Real Gear Measurements, even the cheapest of the interfaces, the Focusrites and whatever, they have really good mic preamps on them. I mean, there's things we would have dreamed about a long time ago, and they'll be fine. What you're really going to be worrying about is, again, I know I harp on it all the time, is your drivers. Whether you're on Mac or PC, those drivers matter. And the better the drivers, the less CPU it's going to eat, the more real-time effects you can run at low latencies. The lower latency you can get for the same buffer size. So make sure it has good drivers. That's what matters. All the mic preamps on these things are going to be okay. Some might be slightly better than others, but I don't think they're going to be worlds beyond. Maybe you can find a really crappy audio interface that's really noisy or something, but in general, all the cheap ones are going to be okay. All the usual sources, the Behringer ones, as long as it has an ASIO driver. If it really has an ASIO driver, not ASIO for all, you're probably going to be okay. Behringer, Audient, Focusrite, PreSonus. Some of this is going to matter to you whether or not the companies keep supporting their drivers later on. Some of these companies are pretty notorious for abandonware on their older interfaces, which brings me to the ultimate in drivers is going to be from RME. And RME supports products going back 20 years. So, you want the best sound card, go buy an RME. I know people get pedantic, whether it's a sound card or an audio interface, whatever. I'm calling it an audio interface is what they're asking about. Can others hear my headphones through Zoom? Can others hear the sound of my headphones through Zoom? Could be. You might have some open back headphones, or your headphones might be up loud enough and people can hear the sound from your headphones. Sometimes it's a lot. If there's a lot of compression going on, then that sound of your headphones getting squeezed and then on its way out is going to be not that much quieter than your voice maybe. And then when the other guy's got compression on the way in, it could end up mattering a lot. So it is something to worry about. What else we got? What was it good? Is a USB microphone good for recording vocals? Yeah, same kind of answer. It could be. Sound quality could be fine. Again, it's the drivers. It really comes down to the drivers. Are those drivers going to be good, or are they going to make trouble on you? And then if you need to add more, if you're on Core Audio on the Mac, I think you can amalgamate the drivers. You could probably do it with Wasapi on Windows, but in general, you don't mix multiple audio interfaces. There are exceptions, but that's when the USB mics become a problem, is when you got to plug something else in as well. And tonight is a Bike Factory ride out, and I really want to get there, so that's why I'm doing this early today. And so I really don't have much left. Let's see, what do we got here? So we got one more here, and it is, why won't Pro Tools First open using OS Catalina? Maybe it did, but boy, we have a lot of customers that use a lot of different DAWs. Why won't Pro Tools First open using OS Catalina? I could take out some of those words and just say, why won't Pro Tools open? And I should probably leave it there before I get myself in trouble. And I know this was a short one, but I need to go get some exercise. And I'll see you guys next week.